Bienvenidos a Coffee Break Spanish.
Welcome back to the Coffee Break Spanish Show. Yo soy Mark.
Y yo soy Concha.
¿Qué tal, Concha?
Muy bien, Mark. ¿Y tú qué tal?
Súper contento de estar de vuelta en el estudio contigo
Eso es.
para otra temporada del Coffee Break Spanish Show.
Sí, yo también estoy súper emocionada.
So this is a weekly podcast and you can listen to the episodes wherever you get your podcast, but don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe on any of the podcast platforms. And if you're watching our video version, because there's a video version of this too, then you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
Perfecto. So, what are we going to talk about today, Mark?
Buena pregunta, porque hoy estamos hablando de las preguntas.
Exactly. We are going to be looking at question words and when to use the accent, when to not use the accent, all of that.
All that kind of thing. And it is quite a tricky question, quite a tricky topic for our learners, I think. Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Empecemos.
Okay, so first, there's something that we need to take into account, and is that we are not going to be looking at every single question word.
Claro.
Right? Porque tenemos muchas.
Sí.
So we are going to be looking at a few just now, and then you'll have the rest in the blog article. So make sure that you read that one, because it's also a very visual topic. So for you to understand really where to place the accent and everything, so it's good to read the blog article after. But for now, just listen out and see how much you can get.
Exactly. We'll mention that blog article again at the end to give you the link and so on. But for now, let's just focus on these question words.
Eso es. Okay, so let's start with the main ones that we use, okay? And the ones that we are already familiar with. The first one is como.
Como literally means how.
Exacto. Can you give me a question with como, Mark?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Eso es. Muy bien. Me llamo Concha. Okay, so that como has an accent, okay? And that is because this como is within a question.
Yeah.
So every time we have a word like como and it's in a question, we have an accent. In this case, in the O, in the first O, como.
Yeah. Como,
Okay?
como. And the same applies to donde,
Exactamente.
which means?
Where?
Un ejemplo, por favor.
Claro. Por ejemplo, ¿dónde está la biblioteca?
Está muy cerca de aquí. No te preocupes.
Muy bien.
Okay, so where is the library?
Ajá.
So where as a question, donde, D-O, accent,
Exacto.
N-D-E.
Eso es, sí. Y también, por ejemplo, a ¿cuándo?
¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños?
El 16 de diciembre.
I'll remember that. So, ¿cuándo? A question, meaning when, and there's an accent there too.
Exactly, on the A, ¿cuándo?
¿Cuándo? Okay. What about qué?
Yeah, that one also has an accent when it's within a question. For example, ¿qué estás haciendo ahora?
What are you doing just now? Now, with qué, we see qué in many situations, sometimes with an accent, sometimes without an accent. But of course, when it's used as a question, in a question, then we've got that qué with the accent. Very straightforward.
Exactamente.
Now, Concha, there's something else we need to think about when we're talking about questions in Spanish. And I think for learners, especially early on in the language learning journey of Spanish, it's quite a surprise. Do you know what I'm thinking about?
I think you're talking about the opening question mark.
Absolutely. An upside down question mark at the beginning. What's that all about?
Yeah, so we need that opening question mark, that upside down one, like you said, because the structure of the sentence doesn't change in Spanish. So when you say, for example, where do you live?
Yeah.
In Spanish, we say, ¿dónde vives?
Yeah.
So if you didn't put the question mark at the beginning, we wouldn't know that this is a question.
Yeah, because it could mean where you live, there's a farm nearby or something like that. Yeah. Of course, in that situation, it wouldn't have an accent.
Not always, but sometimes, and we'll talk about this in a minute, sometimes it would.
Yeah. So we put that question, the upside down question mark in before the question part of the sentence.
Yes. So it really depends. For example, if you say, ¿me puedes decir dos puntos? ¿Dónde está tu casa? In that case, the question will go right before the question word.
Okay.
So right before the donde.
Right. And this is where, as we said earlier, it will really help if you have a look at the blog article that accompanies this episode, because it will help you see where all the punctuation is going in this sentence. But if you imagine for the moment, we've got, ¿me puedes decir? Can you tell me? Colon, dos puntos.
Eso es.
¿Dónde está tu casa?
Ajá.
So the upside down question mark in that situation would come straight before the donde.
Eso es.
¿Me puedes decir? Colon, upside down question mark. ¿Dónde está tu casa?
Exacto.
Can you tell me where your house is? Would a comma work in the same way?
Yes, exactly. Any kind of punctuation. Yeah.
So me puedes decir, comma, upside down question mark, ¿dónde está tu casa?
Exactamente.
Okay. But if we just wrote out in one sentence without any punctuation, ¿me puedes decir dónde está tu casa?
In that case, we would put the opening question mark right at the beginning of the sentence. So right before the me.
Yeah. ¿Me puedes decir dónde está tu casa? In a sense, the question there is whether or not you can tell me.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to where your house is.
Exactly.
¿Me puedes decir dónde está tu casa?
Yeah.
Okay, let us now talk about a situation. We've covered some question words. We've talked about the accents that go in them and also talked about upside down question marks. But what about situations where we don't put the accent or we do put the accent when there's a doubt as to whether we put the accent?
Yeah, so when we don't have any question marks whatsoever is when it gets confusing. So in that case, we need to think about if you're wondering about something. For example, if I say, me pregunto dónde está María. I wonder where María is.
Yeah.
Because I am wondering, there's the idea of, in my head, I'm asking, where is María?
Exactly, yeah.
So in that case, we would use an accent there.
So I think what we're going to do here, just to get a little bit of practice in, and especially because our listeners are maybe, I don't know, walking the dog or are at the gym or in the car, and you've not done anything yet while you're listening to this episode. So it's time to do some work.
Eso es.
We're going to repeat these sentences after Concha. So can you give us a sentence and pause in such a way so that we remember whether there's a question mark, whether there's an accent and so on?
Okay, perfect. So I'll say the sentence, then I'll give you some time to repeat. Okay. So my sentence would be, no sé cómo lo hace.
No sé cómo lo hace. So this literally means I don't know how he does it.
Exacto.
So the question I'm wondering is, how does he do it?
Yeah.
You know, how does he make those beautiful cakes?
Exactly.
Or how does he do that wonderful art?
Eso
Whatever
es.
it is.
Yeah, so even if it's a rhetorical question, in your head, you're asking yourself a question.
Yeah.
So we do have an accent there.
Yeah. Do we have a question mark?
No.
Because it's, I don't know how he does it. I'm not asking, can you tell me how he does it?
Ha.
Okay. So I don't know how he does it. How has our accent? ¿Cómo lo hace?
Eso es, muy bien.
Let's have another one. Again, if you leave some space after the sentence, and then our listeners can repeat.
Okay, absolutely. No sé cuándo va a llegar Marta. Dijo que iba a llegar a las 12.
It's quite long.
It's quite long.
Let's split it up into two, yeah?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. I'll repeat the first part. No sé cuándo va a llegar Marta. Dijo que iba a llegar a las 12.
Okay, let's split it up then. No sé cuándo va a llegar Marta.
Ajá.
So I don't know when Marta is going to arrive. I'm sitting here thinking, where's Marta got to? You know, when is she going to arrive? I'm asking myself a question.
Exacto.
So there should be an accent on the cuándo.
Exactamente.
And then the second part of the sentence was?
So we said, dijo que iba a llegar a las 12.
Dijo, she said, preterite tense, que iba, she was going to, imperfect, llegar a las 12. She was going to arrive at 12 o'clock.
Eso es.
Are you a punctual person, Concha?
Unfortunately, no. I think it's in my Spanish nature. Yeah.
So if you said you were going to arrive at 12 o'clock, what kind of time would you aim for?
I would give it another half hour, maybe, roughly
Good
an
to
hour.
know.
So I don't know why this person is wondering. Marta is going to arrive late anyway.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Let's look at one more example here.
Okay. Veremos qué pasa.
Interesting. Interesting. So, veremos qué pasa.
Exacto.
We will see what
happens.
Okay.
Exacto.
So I guess at that point, are we sitting there thinking, what's going to happen? Is there a question in our heads? Yeah, there's a question in our heads.
Yeah.
But of course, there's no question marks because it's not a question.
Exacto.
But we will see what happens. Veremos qué pasa.
Exacto. And this one is very interesting because if you say veremos qué pasa without the accent, then you're not wondering. Then you will see what's going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that is the difference there.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Interesting. Okay. Let's look at a couple of situations where there is no accent. And then we'll put me and our listeners to the test. How does that sound?
Perfect. Perfect to me. Ready? Vale. Esta chaqueta es como la que tenía cuando era pequeña. So again, we have that como there.
So say it again, nice and slowly, so our listeners can repeat.
Esta chaqueta es como la que tenía cuando era pequeña.
Okay, so esta chaqueta, this jacket,
Ujú.
es como la que tenía, is like the one I had,
Eso es.
la que tenía cuando era pequeña,
Ajá.
when I was little. So there, that como, it's not a question word.
Exacto.
It means like, in a sense. Or
exactly.
I suppose we could be asking, what was the jacket like I had when I was a child? But that's not the question here.
Yeah, you're comparing two jackets that existed. You know what they looked like.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there is no question. No wondering.
Okay, let's try another one.
Okay. Estoy donde me dijiste.
Right. This is a good example. Okay, let's hear it one more time.
Estoy donde me dijiste.
Estoy donde me dijiste. Now, this here, we're saying I am where you told me to be,
Ajá.
in a sense.
Exactamente.
So I'm not asking, where did you tell me to be?
No.
I'm just using the word where as a relative pronoun basically here. Estoy donde me dijiste. I am where you told me to be. But no accent.
Exactly.
Are we ready for a test?
We are ready for a test.
So what we're going to do now is Concha is going to give us a sentence. I'm going to play this button here. I'm going to press a button and then we'll have some music for 10 seconds to give us all some time to think about it. And then we'll decide accent or no accent.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready to play accent or no accent?
Yes, accent or no accent. Let's go for it. Vamos allá. Okay, your first sentence is, ese es el profesor que te comenté.
Right, so the question is, ¿qué? Does that have an accent or no accent?
Sí o no.
10 segundos. Okay. Ese es el profesor.
Ajá,
So that is the teacher
ajá.
que te comenté,
Yes,
that I told you about.
exacto.
There's no question.
No question.
Therefore, there's no accent.
Muy bien,
Okay.
bien. Punto para Mark.
Muchas
And
gracias.
for you as well.
Okay, let's do one more.
Okay. Dime cuándo aterriza tu vuelo y voy a recogerte.
Okay, so it's cuando this time we're thinking about.
Eso
10
es.
segundos. Okay,
Tiempo.
tiempo. So dime cuándo aterriza tu vuelo.
Ujú,
So tell me when your flight arrives, when it lands.
exacto.
Y voy a recogerte, and I will come and pick you up.
Eso es.
So tell me when it arrives. I think I'm thinking, when does the flight arrive there?
Ujú.
So I'm going to say there is an accent.
Correcto. Muy bien. Yes, exactly. If there's the idea of wondering, if I don't know the information that I'm asking for, then there's going to be an accent.
There's going to be an accent. And so the accent is there because of the question. And even though there's not a question mark in these situations, it's still a kind of reported question or
Eso
something like
es.
that.
Sí.
So there we have it. We've looked at when to use the accents on the question words. We've looked at when not to use the accents on the question words. And of course, those upside down question marks and where to place them.
Yeah, now you know how to use them.
Well, yeah. We hope that you have enjoyed this lesson. Of course, there are more examples, more question words, and more information in our article. And you'll find the link in the description of this podcast episode to access all of that.
Exacto. And of course, Mark, if our listeners want to learn more Spanish, they can always sign up for the free lessons visiting coffeebreaklanguages.com/Spanish.
¿Y qué es lo que van a aprender con estos mini lessons?
Ah, nice use of that question
¿Qué?
word. Eso es. Well, with these mini lessons, they're going to just have little pieces of information about Spanish grammar, culture, a little bit of everything.
Un poco de todo.
Eso es.
So you can look out for those in your inbox soon. Just go to coffeebreaklanguages.com/Spanish, as Concha said.
Muy bien.
Pues eso es todo por hoy.
Pues sí, encantada de haber estado aquí.
Y igualmente, our first episode of the new season. We hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon. Muchas gracias y hasta la próxima.
Happy coffee breaking.
Adiós. You have been listening to a Coffee Break Languages production for the Radiolingua Network. Copyright 2024 Radiolingua Limited. Recording copyright 2024 Radiolingua Limited. All rights reserved.